Hi folks, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and today we are going to make a cute little button bracelet using a few beads from our December Bargain Bead Box, Earthen Elegance. I say a few beads because I think there's only probably 3 beads, actual beads from the kit, but these are good. This is going to be a really fun bracelet. So let's turn down and I'll show you what I'm going to do. So these are my beads. Here's my little piece of leather. I've got some soft flex wire. Now this was a closeout one that I got at a live sale. I'm not sure exactly what this color is. I think it was actually an off color that it was closed out because it didn't meet their standards of meeting the color that they had for them. So this is a soft flex medium. We're going to use this light green. And then I didn't have a copper button, so we went with I had hand painted this one with the leaves quite some time ago, so I decided to use it and some green flower beads to complement it. And then since I decided, well, we're using multi-metals anyway, we put some butterflies in, silver ones. So we're going to have these green beads. This one's going to be the center. Actually, I think I'll make this one the center. It looks like it's the darkest color, and these look like the same. And then we're going to use these 2 Saturns on either side of it, primarily because what we're going to put on the other side of the Saturn is the big 10 millimeter jaspers. And then we're going to put our butterfly facing this direction with the flower coming, the next flower coming up to meet him. Now this, and one of these little guys, is going to be a dangle off the ring. We have a gold ring here. Then we have one more of these Saturns on either side here. And then our, this is a 8 millimeter jasper. Then one of these little melons. Come on, you. And this little orangey maple leaf. Now this little bead is going to go here on the other side, and I'm using this one because it's actually going to get more or less buried in here when we put our button bead together. See, it's going to go right into here, more or less. So that is simply so we don't lose any of our decorative pieces that we want to use underneath here. So then this ring will go on this side. The leather will go on the ring for holding the button, a button closure, and then this will become a dangle here. So actually I need one more because I was thinking of using wire, but I think I'll use soft flex to hang that dangle in place. So we'll need one more crimp bead or crimp tube because they are tubes. So, well, maybe we'll need 2 depending on how I put it together. So anyway, first thing we want to do is get our wire out. And this is probably way more than I need. We probably only need about 10 inches for a for this button bracelet. But I'm probably gonna maybe cut a little bit more than that. I prefer more than not enough, or short amounts, so There we go. Put that temporarily up there. So now I'm going to hook this side onto the button. So we'll just go through the shank. Oops. No, we don't want to drop it. Bring it over, go back through the crimp bead tube. Bring her up relatively tight. We want to leave enough space that it moves, but we don't want so much that it's like got a big gapping mount. So now that we've got that in there, we'll crimp it using our magical crimpers. So just put the bead in the divot spot and squish. Then we'll turn and squish. And we keep doing that turn and squish until it doesn't do any more squishing. And then we will give it a tug test. Looks pretty good. And we're going to start beating these up. Now, as you can see, that's most of the way underneath the button when it's in place. And if you twist the button at all, so like to a different direction, it's gonna go even further under. So let's just get these beaded up. Now another crimp. Now that we've got that done, we want to check and see how the sizing is going. So because this would go over this ring, we've got to realize that this ring is going to cause part of the sizing. I'm just going to pull this up so that we can get a good idea of where it's sitting. And then the leather will go on and go around our button, so it's going to be something like that. So let's get our sizer out. And I think that's going to be pretty good. So we will tighten our crimp up on here and hook it and then crimp it down tighter. So let's see where we're at here. Actually, I think it's pretty perfect right now, so let's get this in here and crimped. Before I push that, I got to make sure I don't have any gaps anywhere, and I don't seem to. So let's tug. That's good. Now I didn't think to push this wire back through. Let's see if it'll go in. If it won't, we'll just cut it here right by the crimp. Doesn't look like it wants to, so we'll just cut it right here by the crimp. There we go. And now the next step is to put our leather on. It's going to sit like so, isn't that pretty? So the leather is really simple, but you want a relatively good sized piece because it's got to have some knots. So this particular piece I think is probably 10 inches. Yep. So what we want to do first is fold it in half. Then we're going to go through our ring here. And I think that's backwards to the way I want it to be. Oh my, this one's poking out here, so we want to cut that off too. There we go. So, nope, it's all right. So then we want to figure out how big of a loop we need for our button to go through. So we need about that much right there. So we want it to tie about right here. So we just tie an overhand knot. And since you're going to lose your spot generally when you're tying your knot, before you tighten it down, check and make sure your button's going to go through. And mine feels pretty good, maybe even a teeny touch loose. So as I tighten this, I'm going to push it down a little bit so that it will take up that slack that was in there. Now you can glue this if you want to, you don't have to. That's pretty good. And now, since we're done with these, you can trim your wires down, your leather down if you want to. You don't have to trim it a lot. You don't have to trim it at all. Or you can trim it quite a bit. So there's where I've trimmed mine to. Now let's see how long this ended up being. Right at 7 and 7 1/4. So that's good. Now our last step, and this might even be long enough to do it, is we're going to take, I'm going to take this button undone so that it's easier to work here. We're going to take this little guy here. We're going to hook him on to some soft flex. And I'm just going to crimp it right here. Oops, come on, you got to go over both wires. This leaf is going to be sitting right here, so let's crimp that then. I didn't get that to crimp very pretty. See if we can get her going better here. Well, she's good and stiff though. So now we're going to cut this most of the way down. Put our little spacer melon in here. There we go. Then we're going to put the other crimp on, and we're going to crimp this onto our ring. So we'll go through the ring and then crimp this. And since I already have wire inside the little crimp bead here, I'm not going to try, this little melon bead, I'm not going to try and get this one in as well. We're just going to get this one good and straight and then crimp it right here. Turn and crimp. Do a tug test. Feels good. So then I'm going to just trim this little bit of wire here right by the crimp. And so now we have a dangle. So if we bring this around and put her through our leather piece, there's our bracelet with our dangle on it. Looks like I may have gotten a little tighter than I want it, though just because it's not laying down great here, it doesn't mean that it won't when it's on your arm, because it's pretty mobile on your arm here. So there's our bracelet. A cute little button bracelet with a little leaf dangle. So there we go. There's our button bracelet. Granted, there are not very many beads from the December Bargain Bead Box, but they are some there. So there we go. Our pretty little button bracelet. This has been Rose from In Rose's Garden, and we've been using some of the jasper beads from the December Bargain Bead Box. Hope you enjoyed making that with me, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.